Hi, and welcome to our chrysanthemum patch. I'm going to show you how we propagate our mums. It is May 6th here in Zone 9B. As you can see, we have a little bit of a jump start on our growing season. Things get quite warm here and we have a milder winter. So our mums are already 2 to 3 feet tall. Rule of thumb for mums is you want to trim them back by July 1st to about 10 to 12 inches in height to promote side branching. We're going to get that done a bit sooner because they're already tall, and what we don't want is for them to start driving energy to the tip to start forming a bud and instead making more branches so that we can have more flowers. What you need: clean pair of snips for this part of our propagation. We've got labels down here at the bottom of each plant that we did last fall when they were in bloom. So I'm just going to basically come in here, I'm going to inspect the plant, and I want a number of, you can see these nodes right back here, they're already leafing out. So I want to come down here and I'm going to cut to about here, which leaves me about 12 inches from here to the bed. And I'm going to simply go and cut on a diagonal. What I want to do is cut on a diagonal because then I know that this is the bottom of the stem now versus, yes, there's a tip, but for each cutting that I take, I'm going to do a diagonal cut on the bottom and a blunt or perpendicular cut at the top. Okay, so this is how we just come in here, and you want to take cuttings if you've got some side branching of the non-woody pieces, and those will make for good cuttings. Again, cut on a diagonal just like that. We're going to come in here, and so already I'm just looking at this plant, inspecting which is all coming from the same plant, and I'm just going to come in here and go snip. And there we have it. We have a number of cuttings. So I'm going to take this over to our workbench and I'll show you how we get this done.
In addition to your cut stems, we're going to need a few other supplies. First, we want a sharp pair of snips, and making sure that they're clean, we're going to use some rubbing alcohol to simply spritz the blades and wipe them clean with a paper towel. We'll also need some rooting hormone. We like to use this product called Clunex, which is a rooting gel. You can also find other forms of rooting hormone in a powder form, but get whatever is readily available to you. Our medium of choice today is vermiculite. Why we are choosing vermiculite is because of its properties of not only that it's granular, meaning that it's going to provide great drainage. Vermiculite also magically carries and holds water quite well, but because it drains, it means that you're not going to have moisture sitting up against these stems for a long period of time that might promote rot or molding, and then of course not successfully getting your stems to root. So we're going to use vermiculite today. If you don't have access to vermiculite, a great alternative is garden soil, but just up the amount of perlite, add some perlite in and or sand, again, to promote that drainage. Next, we are simply going to water in our vermiculite very gently, and we want even watering just to kind of get the vermiculite well watered. Whoops. We're going to just simply let that drain through. We don't want the sopping wet. We don't want it to bog. In the end, after we've set all our cuttings in, we'll probably want to add about a 1/4 inch of water to the bottom of this tray so that the vermiculite can continue to just move water gently up.
Okay, you ready to get started? First and foremost, label. Really important that you label your cuttings. We have Lynn Johnson, which is a cream colored chrysanthemum that I just showed you how we took cuttings from the actual plant. I've also denoted the date of which we are taking these cuttings and setting them into our vermiculite, because we would hope that in about 14 days or so that we should have roots forming. Again, really important for a label. So I have set some already in the vermiculite, but I'm going to show you how we do it. Here's your stem cutting. As you can see, it's on a diagonal cut that we took from the plant. I'm just going to make my way up the stem and make anywhere from 3 to 4 inch cuts depending on the number of nodes and the height that we want to go to. Remember, this is going to be sitting in vermiculite with about 1/2 inch of water, so we don't want tons of leaf left on these cuttings. We want to drive the energy to making roots and not necessarily be trying to keep leaves hydrated. So here we have a cutting of Hagoromo. It's a purple colored chrysanthemum, which we really love to use in our arrangements during fall. But before we actually go and divide this into smaller 3-4 inch sections, I think it's a good idea to go over our anatomy. As you can tell, most of the leaves on the chrysanthemums grow upwards, and at the top here we have a little bud forming here at the tip. So it's usually pretty easy to identify which way your cutting is, especially if by accident you flipped it over. The reason why we cut a diagonal at the bottom of each of our cuttings is so that when it goes into the tray itself, you can tell that with a diagonal cut, and as long as it's standing upright, your stem will continue to drink water, versus if you had a perpendicular cut, it could possibly stop drinking water, and then the leaves that you have above your soil line would then dehydrate because your stem is not drinking water. So again, we like to put a diagonal cut on the bottom for dual purposes to know which direction the stem is growing. Okay, now so let's take a closer look here. As you can see here, if we back the leaf down right here and pull it back like so, you can now see that there is a tiny dot there. That white dot is what we call the node. That's where a new branch would form. That is where all the magic happens. So what we want to do is we don't want to peel the leaf away so that it starts to strip the outside bark or outside of the stem. But what we want to do is carefully remove any type of leaf debris that could potentially rot, but we want to leave that little node there and just make sure that it doesn't have anything growing from it. If it does, you can just back some of that away. There you go. The genetics is still in that little node there. What I'm also going to do, this would be a perfect cutting to come up here and cut there. So that's a good length there. And then I'm going to also then half the leaf, because we don't need a full leaf. Some people like to leave a full leaf. I find it's easier to keep this cutting hydrated if we take some of the leaf off. So I'm just going to basically come in here and give a snip across if I can, like so. Woohoo! That works. Okay, and then we do the same thing here. I like looking at this one. This one would be actually a great cutting to take. I would actually back this node, back the leaf off here and here, so I'd have double, and then I'd leave this leaf here. Now looking at the remaining stem here, where would I make my next cut? Well, first of all, I'm going to cut here to make a diagonal cut. You see here the leaves are right here and here, so I want to go and back the leaf down and off, just gently, like so. Pinch that back. Again, I'm going to go and clean off the leaf. And because I've backed 2 leaves off, I'm probably going to use right here as my leaf. Now I'm simply going to take a cut here. And yes, this is a little on the long side, but I've also got 2 nodes down here that I'm going to dip into rooting hormone. And so this is my second cutting. I'm going to come and snip the leaf clean there, take half of it off. Okay, so now I have made 1, 2, 3, 4 cuttings. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to simply dip into our rooting hormone. And I like to use Clonex gel hormone, just like that. And then I'm going to carefully place it, wiggle it down. I want it to hit the bottom of the tray. This guy will be set onto a heat mat at 70F. We're gonna leave our guys uncovered and just spritz the leaves every few days and make sure that there is just about a 1/4 inch of water underneath the tray. So again, I'm just going to go through all my cuttings. I want to inspect which way is top and bottom. Again, back off the leaves. I usually like to leave, 1 leaf is usually more than plenty, and I take some of the leaf off. And again, dip, 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 and then place down into the vermiculite like so, and keep going. So here we have it. We have a full tray of cuttings, a half tray of Lynn Johnson. She's a beautiful cream colored chrysanthemum, and a half tray of Ninjo, beautiful rust colored chrysanthemum that opens with a little bit of golden yellow. If you're wondering, our original plants came from a lovely company called King's Moms. So look them up and get your chrysanthemums from there. It's a great, great resource. Next up is to put these guys as I've mentioned before, onto a heat mat in our little workshop area. We're going to set the temperature to about 70 F and cross our fingers. In 2 to 3 weeks, we should hopefully have some rooted little plants that we can then harden off, transplant into the ground, and have more blooms come fall. So I hope you've enjoyed this segment. My name is Charmaine Turbow from Turbow Farms here in Los Altos, California. Please subscribe to our channel, like it, and I look forward to sharing more garden tips from our microflower farm to you. Thank you for watching.